Robert Plank Show, episode 255, The Voice of Your Dreams. Get noticed, serve others, overcome setbacks, and build up passive income with Aaron Anastasi. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Aaron Anastasi, and he's a SoCal native with a master's from Princeton. And Aaron founded the Superior Singing Method, which is an online singing program grossing seven figures annually. Aaron is also a prominent life coach, and he's the author of The Voice of Your Dreams, which is an Amazon bestseller. So, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robert. Happy to be here.
I'm happy that you are here, and so we read a little bit about you, but can you tell us, sort of in your own words, what makes you unique and special?
What makes me unique and special? That is a
Yeah.
question. Well, let's see. I have a varied background. I do a lot of different things. So I have an online singing lesson program. So I've got the whole singing side of me, and I was a touring musician for a long time, and did the Princeton and academic thing. Love doing that. But nowadays I don't do much with music, and I don't do much, I guess, with academia. But now I mostly spend my time acting and life coaching and working on books. So it's kind of I guess, a varied background is what makes me unique.
Awesome. And all those professions that you describe, it sounds like they're all things where normally the people in them don't make a lot of money, right? Like the student side of thing, the musician side of thing, all that stuff. So, I mean, do you know, or is there a reason why you've somehow like you've been the person to make all this money in these areas where a lot of people are like those starving artists?
Well, for let's just take the music one for example. I something pretty radical happened for me. There was a switch that when I was pursuing music and I was touring and I was putting out records and I was doing all the things that musicians do and I was really enjoying all that. I had a level of success enough to where I could pay my bills, but I was kind of the starving artist. And then when I shifted to, you know what, I'd like to help other people reach their dreams, which is why I created the online singing lesson program. And when I shifted the focus from like a self-aggrandizement thing to like a real concern and a joy in serving others and helping them reach their dreams, that's when I started making a lot of income. And then in the same kind of way as a life coach, I make a really strong income as a life coach, helping people reach their dreams in kind of all different areas of their life. So when I went from it's all about me to it's all about serving others, there was a big shift in my life, in my focus, in my level of joy, and certainly my level of income.
Awesome. I mean, good life advice in general, right? Like instead of just focusing on what you're all about focus on helping others. And so, I mean, how did you get that stuff sort of ramped up? So you had a little bit of success in, you're singing and making records and you decided, okay, I'm going to make a course teaching other people how to do it. So, I mean, what was your thought process there and like how did like the early stages of that happen for you?
Well, I was still a little bit in my own kind of selfish thing when I started it. So it was just like, oh, I'd like to make some passive income, and I know how to sing, and I understand how to teach people how to sing because I wasn't a natural born singer. I had to like learn painstakingly through every step. So I knew every step really well. So I kind of knew what it would take to take somebody from like a terrible singer to be like actually a professional singer. And so it was about, make passive income so that I could continue to pursue music and all my other dreams and things I wanted to do. So that's kind of how it started. But as I began to get into it, this desire began to raise up inside of me to serve others. And the joy of once I started getting some feedback literally from all over the world, people saying, hey, you helped me reach my dreams and this is working and all that kind of stuff. I started experiencing a feeling I hadn't really experienced before. And it was like this joy of service, this joy of like, oh, I'm actually making an impact in the world and like leaving some type of legacy. So it wasn't altruistic for me to begin with. It was like I stumbled onto it in my selfish way and then realized I really liked it and then started heading more full force in that direction.
That's pretty awesome because like I mean I think that the way that we would imagine things would happen is like, oh yeah, one day I decide I'm gonna change my mindset, but it sounds like for you, like you said, like it came sort of as like an accidental byproduct. You went out there and did some action and almost kind of realized like what excited you personally or what motivated you, and that the serving of others helped kind of overpowered everything else. And so, I mean, as you were making like that those websites, or you're working on that passive income or making those first few sales, I mean, did you come up across any like stumbling blocks? Like, like for example, did you come across any like technical challenges, or were there a bunch of competitors in your space and you realized like, how am I going to compete, or were there not enough to model? I mean, what kind of things, what kind of roadblocks came up for you as you were sort of making this thing happen?
Yeah. So the technical stuff, like literally like hundreds, if not thousands of technical things. So like so many setbacks more than anybody would even ever care to listen to. But the other thing was, yeah, there were a lot of competitors out there and people that were crushing it too. So I didn't think I'd even come close to any of them, which we have now, which is I'm really grateful for that. But one of the biggest setbacks we had was when I first developed it, it's called Superior Singing Method now. But when I first developed it, it was called the Singing Guide. And I created the Singing Guide, took about 2 years, and had a couple of business partners with that. And when we launched it, it was like a complete failure, like a non-starter, like nobody ever bought one single thing of it. So that was a pretty major setback, which I was pretty disappointed and pretty heartbroken actually because I'd spent 2 years really working hard and creating it. So what I did, I kind of got to a moment of a crisis moment of like, what am I going to do? Part of me was just like, well, we put in a valiant effort, so it's not going to work. Obviously, we put all this time, it's not going to work, and move on. But there was something inside of me that was like, I really think this could work. I think that if we just push a little harder. So we did. We pushed a little harder. I studied more. We rebranded, refilmed, everything for another year. Not like, oh, and then we launched it 2 weeks later. No, another year of study and really deciding what is it that we want to do and what is our big why. Like what I realized that my big why was I want to help inspire people to do what inspires them so that they could reach their dreams. And that's kind of one of the things that really drove me through that. And when we launched again a year later, that's when it blew up. And we had a bunch of other stumbling blocks after that, but that's when it blew up and we were able to quit our jobs and all that stuff.
Awesome. So have that big why. And so do you happen to know, like in hindsight now, like why the singing guide, the first attempt at it, didn't sell, or was it just a matter of it just wasn't quite tweaked for the launch or something?
Well, marketing was a big part of it and quality. The quality was just garbage. We realized that I mean it was just like these really like yellow looking videos shot like against like a white wall that it was just like we didn't put a lot of time and thought into the production. That was one thing. The other thing was I think I was still in that period of I just want to get something out so I could make some money. And when I think it was the between the singing guide and superior singing method is when that shift began to take place. So when I filmed my other videos, they were really like with my intention, my level of being was different. I when I was on the videos, I was looking at the camera and I was looking at my avatar and telling my avatar, look, I really want you to learn this. I really want you to reach your dreams. And I'm going to give you everything I can give you to make that possible for you. So that I think that level of intention and way of being translated a lot more than the first one of like, "Ah, I'm just trying to get this done."
It makes a lot of sense, and so it sounds like we're sort of building on some really cool principles here that you've used. Like number one, like that joy of service. That even if we're not completely there yet, if we can sort of move ourselves in that direction, once we sort of take that action, get the feedback, then that'll sort of reveal itself more and more, and then have that big why, that big goal, and then be talking to that one singular avatar. And this is cool so far because these things are sort of interrelating or like building on each other's. And so when you were making those products and those videos and things like that, like how did you sort of balance out that? Like on one hand, there's like I'm helping people, but then it sounds like it would be easy for like the procrastination to creep in or the perfectionism to creep in. That like, well, I really want to help people and I really want to have good production values and things like that. But how do you keep that from sort of keeping you from finishing, if that makes sense?
It does. My I was going to say my roommates and I because my business partner is my former roommate of like 10 years ago, but my business partner and I and his brother who is my other business partner, we were in this is just a story that kind of illustrates how we kind of got past that. We were in LA. I live in LA now, but we were up here and they were living in LA at the time, and we went to a movie premiere. It was for a movie called Skyline. It was in like the mid 2000s or something. And it was a real the movie didn't do that well. It wasn't that great of a movie, but that's kind of not the point. They got the movie done in a year and they got it done for $1 million, but the CGI looked like a $200 million film. I mean, it was really, really, it looked amazing, even though the story was just kind of whatever, and ended up making almost $100 million, this huge profit. And so, anyway, we were at the premiere and the producers and directors that were talking about it. And one of the main directors, producers had said, when we were in the room, there were just in his words, he said there were instead of being 20 a-holes in the room, there were just six of us a-holes in the room. And so what we decided is we if something came through and it wasn't perfect, it was just but it was good enough. We said that's fine, just push it through, push it through, push it through, because they were more concerned about staying on budget and getting it done within a year. And that, for whatever reason, had a huge impact on us during that time. And so as we were building the sites, we coined the term skyline because the film was called Skyline, and we started using skyline as like a verb. Hey, let's just skyline it. Let's just skyline it, meaning, hey, we're not going to get obsessed and get bottlenecked here. It's good enough. Let's just move on. We can fix it later. We can get feedback later, all that stuff. Let's just keep moving. Let's get it done because done is better than perfect. So that was a big part of, I think, what helped us be successful is actually just getting the stuff done and not getting bogged down in the details and imperfection, which historically I am very capable of doing, getting bogged down in perfection.
Well, cool. And I heard a little bit of, and it almost sounds like you're maybe better now about like the planning and having the deadlines and organizing the project than maybe you were in the past. Is that about accurate?
It is. I learned a lot of that over the time, and I actually really enjoy that now. I enjoy deadlines, and I enjoy a certain amount of structure because for me, I could work really well within a structure and have a lot of freedom within that structure. Before I was like, screw structure. I'm an artist and I'm going to do what I want to do. But now I realize that I could be the most creative and be the most productive artist I can be, and businessman and coach and writer, whatever. I can be within a certain form of structure and staying within that and allowing myself to be creative there.
Awesome. So, I mean, I think that that's a pretty good takeaway for just like anyone in any kind of business. And so, I want to maybe switch gears a little bit because you mentioned that you had what was first the singing guide, and then you came out with the superior singing method, and you kind of built some stuff since then, and you built up this YouTube channel. So, can you kind of tell us like about your YouTube channels and how you've built them up so much?
Yeah, the so when the singing guide had, and most people probably not even heard of the singing guide because literally we just nobody ever found it. But when that tanked, and then we launched Superior Singing Method, Superior Singing Method did really well, and we were doing a lot of search engine optimization and backlinks and all that garbage, like 8 years ago or whatever, and it was working. Like I said, we were able to quit our jobs and we are starting to make good money, and we are exciting. I was getting more and more emails from people all over the world. This is working. It's helping my dreams. Like everything was good. And then in 2011, I don't know if you know about this, but Google released Panda, an algorithm that basically crushed all the SEO kind of search engine optimization stuff that we were doing. And so we went from like making a really strong income to literally zero in a moment. And so that was another really big turning point for us, that I was just like, all right, well, let's go to YouTube and just see what we can do there. And so I filmed 21 videos, and again, just my very best content, like literally all my very best content at the time. And I do it with the same intention. I just want to help people learn to sing. Let's just see what happens. And so started the YouTube channel like that, and then within a couple of months, the videos were getting hundreds of thousands, and within a year or two, they're getting millions, and it blew up.
Crazy. And so was that just a matter of just it grew organically and just keep cranking out content and keep cranking out content that solves all these little problems?
That's really all it was for us. I mean, it was organic. We knew how to do like a little SEO around YouTube videos just to give them like a little bit of a boost, but they had to take off on their own. Like people had to grab onto them and love the content in order for it to really skyrocket. Because not all of them did, but maybe like three-quarters of them or maybe half of them at the time did, and then the other ones started catching on. So no super secrets except really just down to that idea of like the intention, the way of being of just serving. Like, hey, I'm gonna give you everything you can, anything you need, and then people would send comments. Hey, what about this? What about that? And I'd do videos about that. It really just came down to service at the time. And as those started blowing up, we ended up, you know, the income we were making and the impact, more importantly, that we're making was, probably 5 times what it was even before.
Awesome. And so, just to make sure that everyone can follow along as we're talking about this, is there an easy way for someone to type in a web address in a browser and find one of those YouTube channels?
Yeah, yeah. My YouTube channels, if you just go to like one is called Superior Singing and the other is called howtosing.com, like all like spelled out. And I think it's like YouTube/user, Superior Singing, and then the other one howtosing.com, or just on a search engine you can find either one of those YouTube pages. And then of course the site itself is superiorsingingmethod.com.
Awesome. So howtosing.com, type that out in YouTube, and superiorsingmethod.com. And so, I mean, how do you like the niche you're in? Like this is, I mean, it seems like this sort of hobby niche, it seems like there's going to be a lot of maybe passionate people and maybe some buyers who don't have any money, and some buyers who are super enthusiastic. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Like, what are your thoughts on number one? Like, there might be a lot of like just really like control freak, maybe like some like unteachable kind of people, but it seems like there's a lot of like really passionate people. So, I mean, how do you like this kind of singing niche that you're in?
Well, we like it a lot because we're all singers, and so we like that. What was challenging for us over time, and continues to be challenging for us is, I talk about the idea of an avatar. Our avatar is it's so spread out that it's a little bit challenging to market correctly, and a lot of the users are really young users, between 11 and 16, and then we've got like, and then we got the college age crowd, and then we have like the second career people. So we have it's spread out, but a lot of them are younger, and so they don't have credit cards, and there's, they don't have a lot of access to buy our product. So that was a challenge to figure out along the way. And then, to be perfectly honest, like I still do that, I still maintain that site, but literally probably spend an hour a week maintaining that site right now. Most of my time and focus is on acting, filmmaking, and right. I'm working on my second book. So that's actually, and then life coaching. Those are like where my main focuses are now.
Okay, well, let's sort of switch gears and talk about that. So you had the like the information product business, and you have all these YouTube channels and videos and stuff like that. And so, and it sounds sort of like, as you were sort of building up these skills, like you figured out like, how to make better videos and how to make better websites. And so, are those kind of skills coming back into play, and are you able to like reuse those in the new project you have going on?
Well, yes and no. So yes, in that we've launched a bunch of other sites. So we've got Superior Songwriting Methods, which is a songwriting thing, and then we've got another one called Play Worship Guitar, which is a guitar one, and we actually just launched one called Signing Success. It's how to do sign language. We're about to do a big marketing thing for that. So all those skills helped us create a formula to launch all these other sites, but get a team surrounding us to where we don't have to spend a ton of time working on it and focusing on it. Get a team kind of launching that for us. So it helped us with that. And then with the book, it helped create a funnel and a system for me to offer my book. So we've created a big email list, and so we've created a site that funnels people to our site and all of our singing people. So it allows me to kind of spread out and get some more influence with the book and with the life coaching as well, but not so directly like that formula of creating a how to system.
Fair enough. So yeah, like you said, yes and no. So like some skills, but not others. And so you mentioned the book and this funnel. So could you kind of tell us about what that book is and where you can find that and what that's all about?
Yeah, it's called The Voice of Your Dreams. And the subtitle is Turn Up the Volume of Success and Turn Down the Voices of Limitation. And the idea is that we all have this voice of our dreams that calls to us, but it could be hard to hear and hard to follow when our voices of limitation are shouting so much louder. So it's a book about it's a lot of principles of success that I learned along the way and that a lot of my clients have learned a lot of the way. So there's a lot of anecdotal type of stories about clients and their successes.
Awesome. So to give us like a little bit of a taste, can you maybe like share or tease one of those principles with us?
Sure, yeah. In fact, I'll just tell you one of the stories. My I have a One of my early clients was a film director, and he would mostly do commercial and music videos as a director, but he wanted to switch over into doing narrative. And he had written this short film, and he was about a 14 page short film, and he wanted to raise $60,000 for it. I know, which is a lot of money for just like a little short film, but he knew what it would take to do it right, and so he was trying to raise this money. And when I came in contact with him, he had just his crowdfunding campaign had failed. It had been 2 or 3 months, and all his dates were passed, and he'd basically given up on it. And so once we started coaching together, we realized that one of his limiting voices, or what I call rackets, was this idea that I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm just not good at raising money. And so as we began to explore whether or not, the truth of that, and what was even more true than that, he got inspired and not only raised the 60,000, but raised $80,000. And then within a couple of, not too long later, he won a country music award for a music video he'd done as well. So it kind of reawakened his sense of possibility of taking a look at his limiting voices and really seeing what's true and what's not true.
Awesome. And so I mean, what's really the lesson in that? Is that the we have those voices and we should sort of confront them and sort of like break them down, or I mean, what was the real secret there?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. So a lot of the one of the major tenets of the work I do with my clients is helping them expose their limiting voices, helping them expose their rackets, because we live in these stories that are not necessarily true about our own limitations and about the limitations in the world and what is and isn't possible. And these stories create our reality. So we're all living in our separate reality of what we think is possible and what we think our limitations are. And so living inside these lies is a way of keeping us stuck and keeping us living safe. And so what I do is begin to expose those lies. I have a way of like walking people through their rackets and walking them through kind of this interrogation process that begins to open up their mind and allow their mind to slowly let go of these stories and these beliefs and recreate other stories and beliefs that open up a greater reality and a greater sense of opportunity and a greater sense of possibility for them.
Awesome. And so this whole idea of finding the racket and getting rid of it and that kind of stuff, that's just one of all the different chapters in this book. Is that right?
It is. I think there are like 27 chapters. One is called "What a Racket," and that outlines my exact process that I walk my clients through. And the reason I don't say it now because it would just take too long, but it's all right there.
Awesome. And so this book sounds amazing. And where can people find that?
Oh yeah, if you go to, I mean, it's on Amazon. If you go to thevoiceofyourdreams.com, it's called The Voice of Your Dreams, or just search on Amazon. And actually, it just came out on Audible too. So if people like consuming their content that way, so it's on Audible. There's ebook, and it's also the physical book as well.
Awesome. So thevoiceofyourdreams.com, it's on Amazon, that's on Audible. And so, I mean, if people listen to our episode today, Aaron, and they say, man, this Aaron guy, he's got it all figured out. He's, had all these ups and downs, and he's got this self-help book in addition. I mean, we mentioned all these resources. Like, if someone was just like, okay, I hear this guy, I should go to a website right now. I mean, what's the place people should go to right now after they've listened to us talk today?
I would say any of my social media, I do a lot of free content all the time on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you just go to @Aaron Anastasi. So I would say either one of those for like content I'm doing all the time, videos and graphics and all this kind of stuff. But also if you go to thevoiceofyourdreams.com, I mean, you can get the book there, but there's also like a 10 or 12 minute video that kind of explains more stories, more kind of client anecdotal stories, and even opens up the book for you, like literally shows you some of the pages of the book. And I walk them through that. If they're like, nah, it sounds like a cool book, but I'd like to hear more, that would be a place to hear more.
Awesome. So it sounds like people can get to any place they need to go from thevoiceofyourdreams.com, watch those short videos, get a peek at the book, or get the book itself. So thevoiceofyourdreams.com. Everybody go there right now. So thanks so much, Aaron, for stopping by the show and giving us this cool mixture of, self-help and life advice, plus some of your trials and tribulations from making a business and from getting the singing thing working. So lots of good material today, and I really appreciate you stopping by. So thanks for doing that, Aaron.
It's my pleasure, Robert. Thank you.
Check out the latest episodes of our podcast on the web at robertplank.com and subscribe to us on iTunes at robertplank.com/iTunes.